No book has been on my mind more in 2020 than Generations by William Strauss and Neil Howe. It was written in 1991, and what it does is it takes a look at American history through the prism of generational theory and psychology. Some say that it's too broad, but I like that it's broad because I also believe that in terms of shaping history, generations are more powerful than any other social grouping, whether it be economic class, religion, race, or even political party. In the preface, in the preface of this book written in 1991, they write, "No one, for example, can foretell the specific emergency that will confront America during what we will call the crisis of 2020. The nation's public life will undergo swift and possibly revolutionary transformation." Ladies and gentlemen, we are in that secular crisis. We are in that crisis, and maybe instead of reading horoscopes, we should read more history books. The authors identify 4 personality types of American generations. So you have the idealistic type, the reactive type, civic type, and adaptive. And of these 4, 2 of them are dominant types, the idealistic and the civic type. I'll summarize each of these generational types. So you have the idealistic type, their dominant type, and they experience their rising adulthood, ages like 20 to 44, during a spiritual awakening in the country. So this would be like your baby boomers in the 60s, hippies, flower power. Then you have the reactive type. And growing up, the reactive type, not a lot of attention is paid to them. So they become more independent and creative, often very dark. And this is your lost generation coming back from World War I. No one's really caring too much. And then you have the roaring 20s. The lost generation creatively produced a lot. This is your Generation X where, with technology-wise and creating companies, they've really have progressed digital technology and the internet to where we've been able to benefit all from it. Then you have the civic type, and they are the institution builders of the country. They experienced their rise in adulthood, again, 20 to 44, during a secular crisis. So there's a crisis in the country, and they're the generation that has to figure it out and then build the country moving forward. So this is the founding fathers, really creating all these institutions. Fighting World War II, the GI generation, they basically are known as the greatest generation and kind of ruled the 20th century. The millennials are the civic type. Growing up, a lot of attention is paid to the civic type. They see where they kind of went wrong. Society sees where they went wrong with the reactive type, and they change it. So they put more effort into education and teamwork and building and positivity. So as a result, the civic type has a more optimistic view of the world and the future. They come up with the big ideas that are going to propel the country moving forward. The adaptive type, they basically execute the ideas of the civic type. They are great at getting stuff done. So the authors, William Strauss and Neil Howe, they identify cycles in which all these generational types interact with each other. And the cycle usually lasts like 80 to 90 years. And right now we're in the millennial cycle, where the idealistic type, they are in, they're aging out, and then the civic type is in their prime right now. See, I think something odd is happening right now. Everything is set up for the civic type, millennials, to build the infrastructure of the 21st century. It makes sense. We're digital natives, and we understand that we have to rethink and redesign how our government and society operates in the new millennium. But it's not happening. Why is it not happening? Why are we still relying on older generations to solve problems and issues that they can't even comprehend? This book teaches readers that every generation in American history has the ability to reinvent the country in their image. Very few countries exist in the world where citizens can take action and make the country what they want. So then why aren't millennials stepping out of the boomers' shadow and creating their own light? That's what I'm curious about. It could be argued that boomers don't want to give up power and they don't trust young Americans. But I think that's a lazy argument. I think millennials have shown a glimpse of what they can do, of their potential, but they haven't fully embraced it. I think millennials are consumed by fear. We're supposed to have the big ideas and the vision to give to the next generation to fulfill and execute, but it's not there. We haven't been the leaders and the role models that we need to be. We confuse words for action. We're responsible for our own future, and we're accountable for our thoughts and behaviors. And when we start thinking this way, we realize that we can't complain about anything. It's easy to focus on the external, make excuses, or blame someone else. It's really hard and painful to become a better person. But when we do, our relationships, our interactions, and our communities all become stronger. It's time that we take responsibility for our own future, America's future.